I'm Renee, and welcome to Bedtime Stories. Today we're going to be having our first bedtime story, and I'm going to be here with my friend Debbie. She's
Hello.
on the phone next to me. Hope everyone can hear Debbie. Say hi, Deb.
Hi.
So today we're going to be talking about when I was 15, I got engaged, and 17, I got married. So we'll just start off. Where should we start, Deb?
Name changes. You're changing people's
Okay.
names.
Yes, we're changing some people's names from the start. We'll call my ex Ferret because he used to go by another animal name, so we'll just change it to Ferret. We'll call his best friend Bob, and we'll call my best friend at the time Palmsy. And we also had another girl at school we'll call Jody. Okay, so I was 14 years old, just started grade 9, had the worst year anyone could have in grade 8, and was starting off fresh in a new school, and hoping to continue on my goals that I'd set for myself. But I was 14 and also starting to find boys and do all those stupid little things that teenagers do. I'd had one little boyfriend in school for 2 weeks, which was just a little school crush. Didn't go anywhere. I don't even think we even kissed. Then I met some guy. I can't even remember where I met him. I think it was through Bob. Because we'd met Bob at skate park. Where all the kids are doing all the skateboard tricks and all that. So yeah, we were there and hanging out, just being teenagers, and met Bob. And Palmsy, my friend, started dating Bob, and I think I started dating this other boy. He was a young idiot, and I only dated him for 2 weeks as well. It was a nothing relationship, but it did lead me into knowing Bob and all that sort of stuff. So I ended up, Palmsy and I went to a service station one day just to get some things from the shop, and Bob was there, and he had Ferret with him, and Ferret said hi to me or whatever and spoke to me. I don't even really remember meeting him.
So it wasn't love. It wasn't. You didn't have that connection from the start. It was just kind of a passing by.
Yep, just met him at a service station as Palmsy was seeing Bob, and I think I said hi and bye. And apparently Ferret had told Bob that after he'd seen me that he was playing, that one day he'd marry me. And I obviously didn't know about that at the time because I was already home. But then the week later, Bob was bringing over Ferret to meet our friend Jody, and I had just broken up with the other boys. So instead of coming over to meet Jody, Ferret ended up, I think he had already had plans to get chatting to me, and we ended up talking that whole day. And when he left or was leaving, he asked me to be his girlfriend, and he gave me a little kiss, and it was so sweet for a little 14-year-old kiss.
How old was Ferret at the time?
He was 17, but I didn't know that day. And I was 14.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a big difference at that age of what a 17-year-old thinks a relationship and a 14-year-old thinks a relationship.
Very different. And I had plans. I was going to go to London and end up being a nanny, and I was going to end up after that. I wanted to move to America and become an actress, and I had all these dreams to go far in life, and I ended up meeting Ferret. So yeah, we dated, and we're dating for a couple of months. It was just normal teenage dating, but I didn't realize he was looking for someone to marry, and I guess I ended up jumping on the bandwagon because I was young and stupid and dumb, and I was like, okay. So he ended up, when I was 15, on my 15th birthday, he proposed to me. He set up this lovely little dinner at his house. My favourite meal at the time was McDonald's, so he put out the dishes and the knives and forks and McDonald's on the plate, which I found at the time really sweet. And he made a mixtape, because this was 30-something years ago, so mixtapes were the thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, he proposed to me. He got down on one knee and he proposed, and he gave me a silver ring, and it had a reef knot on it. And the symbol of the reef knot was, the harder people pulled us apart, the stronger we would get.
And what did your friends and family think when they found out that he proposed and you were engaged?
Well, they didn't find out for a little while because I was 15 at the time, and I figured friends found out straight away because they were friends. They were happy for us. They were teenagers as well and stupid, so they told us, yeah, you're doing the right thing. Yes, go ahead, as teenagers do. And then I didn't tell my dad until after I was 16. I'd moved to, well, when I was 16, I moved out of my mother's home and ended up living in a caravan for a couple of months. And in that time of living in the caravan, I told my dad that we were engaged and everything, and I had our engagement party after that. And yeah, we ended up moving back in with my dad after living in the caravan park because a best friend I'd class as a brother, he's passed away now, rest in peace, Phil. He gave us a kitten because he didn't want us living in the caravan park anymore. So he gave us this little baby kitten. His name was JB because Phil's favourite drink was Jim Beam.
Yeah.
So he'd named the kitten JB.
Oh, that's cool.
And gave it to us because he knew that we wouldn't stay in the caravan if we had a kitten to look after. So we tried to find places elsewhere. We couldn't find our own place. I was only 16 and Ferret was 19. And we just weren't able to get our own place. It just wasn't possible when we weren't working.
Well, I was going to say, were you going to school at the time, or were you working?
No, I had actually stopped going to school when I left home because, unfortunately, my mother and family were going up to the school and causing problems. And my guidance counsellor actually said to me, if this is never going to stop unless you're not coming to the school and they know where you are.
Yeah.
So I had to quit school to stop the drama of my family, unfortunately. And that was such the biggest regret ever.
Yeah.
So I was in grade 10 when I quit school. I would have been probably 3-4 months off of going into grade 11.
Yeah.
But instead I got engaged and had a marriage instead of a prom and did all that stuff instead.
Yeah. Worked, got a job and moved in with your dad.
Yes, so I moved in with Dad and I ended up getting a full-time job, and Ferret was working full-time with my dad doing lawn mowing. And I was working full-time at Hungry Jack's. We ended up having our engagement party because everybody by then knew we were engaged. We ended up going away that New Year's Eve to Mullaney. We had money. We were both working. We could go away every weekend if we wanted to. So the New Year's Eve we went to Mullaney, and we ended up falling in love with this beautiful resort on the mountain, and we decided that that's where we wanted to get married.
Oh, wonderful.
So we spoke to the owners and booked it actually in for us to get married at the resort at on New Year's Eve 99 going into 2000.
Yeah.
Because by then I would have been 18 and well and truly ready to be. We would have been working for a while and had money for a wedding.
Yeah.
But we ended up just after that moving house to Strathpine. I ended up moving jobs to a deli. I turned 17 and then I found out I was pregnant.
How did that impact your relationship when you found out you were pregnant and then you told Ferret? Like, how did that go down?
Well, stupidly, when I was first 15 and we were together, all I wanted was a baby.
Yeah.
I had been through a really bad childhood myself and I just wanted that someone to love too.
Yeah.
So we were happy when I found out I was pregnant. It was, I wouldn't say my son wasn't planned. I would say he was planned, but not, it didn't have to happen then at that time, because by that time we were both working in good jobs and I wasn't quite as young anymore and it wasn't my main priority like it was when I was 15.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were happy. Even my dad was happy. As soon as we told him, he literally ran downstairs and he's going, Granddad, 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 Granddad. And we caught him. We walked down the stairs and he's like, oh, crap. They've seen me. So, we ended up, we were happy at that stage. We were doing pretty okay. But we knew we didn't want to have a baby not out of wedlock. I was born to a not married couple and Ferret was, and it was something he always believed, that he would have kids, like be married before having kids, and I didn't. I guess at the time it was something I wanted as well. And then, so we decided that we wanted to bring the wedding forward. We booked it Tranquil Park for the year prior, but we found out that we needed both of my parents' permission to get married, or we had to go to court.
I was going to say, it must have been hard because you're not 18. I don't even know if you would be able to do it this day and age.
Yeah.
It's a very complex thing, I suppose.
Yeah. So my dad signed the forms to say it was okay, and my mother's father actually signed the forms on my mother's behalf because he was actually living with us, with my dad and me at the time, and Ferret. And so he had signed on my mum's behalf, but that still wasn't good enough because it had to be both my legal parents.
Yeah.
So we ended up having to go to court. We got, the day we went to court, when we were standing up there, the judge told us that my mum had actually signed it that morning at the courthouse without us knowing. So we wouldn't have had to go through the court case anyway, but because we were already there doing it, we were then given permission to get married early by the judge, but we had to do it within 3 months.
Yeah.
And New Year's Eve 98 going into 99 was within that 3 months. So we decided to just bring the wedding forward a year. But I then had to plan a wedding within about 8 weeks when I was 17 years old and pregnant. And then in this time, I also miscarried, and I miscarried a twin at this time as well. And
so you'll be very emotional, having a very emotional time.
Yeah, I was very emotional, and Ferret was no help at all. There was no help with planning a wedding. There was no support in the pregnancy. There was nothing. And me being young and dumb, I figured that's the way relationships must have gone because I'd never seen a healthy one.
Yeah, I was going to say, you never had one and you never seen it. It makes it hard to, like, know what is like.
Yeah. So I then had to do everything to plan a wedding on my own. My wedding dress was a secondhand dress out of the trading post at that time. This is how old we are. And it was only $50. It was a dress I hated, but I had no other choice but to wear it because I had no other choice. I had no other money, and we had to try and do this wedding on a budget quickly. So I then made it all happen. We got to the wedding day, and it felt like everything went to crap on the day of the wedding. Someone was definitely telling me something from high above. But
I was going to say, it'll be very overwhelming and you don't know what to expect because you're also very young at the time. It's not like everything went to plan, or it was kind of like everything, all the emotions.
Yeah. And so my dad was driving me to the venue and we took a wrong turn and got lost. And I had to call Ferret, and I asked Ferret to send his best man at the time to come and get us. But they both came, and Ferret ended up getting really angry at me and yelling at me and quite abusive.
Oh, no.
And stupidly, I still turned up at the wedding and still started to try and get ready. And
Did you have any doubts at that time?
Sorry?
Did you have any doubts at that time, or you're just in a daze?
I was in a daze, but I was definitely having doubts. And if I didn't feel like the whole world would hate me, I definitely would have walked away from it on the day.
Yeah.
Definitely. But I I was scared of. I was 17. I didn't want to break anyone's heart and do the wrong thing and be the runaway bride.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I was also pregnant with his baby, so.
Yeah.
And dealing with the emotions of miscarrying. So, we turned up at the wedding, and the first thing I got told is, so the night before, the person that brought your flowers in, they put them in the fridge, and that was all great, but then somebody accidentally turned off the fridge, and the flowers ended up dying overnight. And it was New Year's Eve, and I'd had paid, I think, $2,000 for these flowers that ended up ruined. No. And yeah, so that was not fun. So that was the first part. And then we were meant to be getting married on the balcony overlooking the Glasshouse Mountains at Mullaney. It would have been an absolutely beautiful view, yet a cloud decided to come and sit over the mountain for the day, and it poured down rain. So where we were meant to get married, I ended up having to change to a downstairs room that wasn't very nice, but I still had to try and dress it up quickly while I was trying to get dressed myself, because nobody else was willing to help me and get it ready, so I had to do that as well as try and get ready myself. And then I asked my hairstylist to do one hairstyle that I always wanted for my wedding, and they're like, no, we're just doing a braid. I'm like, okay, I'll just do whatever then. I can't have anything I want.
The world is trying to tell you, stop.
Yeah. And then right before the wedding, they were taking photos outside, and because I was trying to get the room ready downstairs, Ferret's mum decided that she was trying to take photos and ended up taking Ferret around where I was, so he ended up seeing me already before the wedding anyway. So that stopped him seeing me before the wedding twice. And then the wedding actually came on, and I was so nervous. Instead of walking down the aisle, one step at a time and nice and slowly, I almost ran down the aisle. And it was crazy. And then when we were saying our vows or doing the ring exchange, Ferret says, with this wing, I be wed, instead of with this ring. And I cracked up and was almost on the floor in laughter. And then by the time I got back up to do my side and put the ring on his finger, said the same thing and said, with this wing, I be wed. So we then, the ceremony finished, and we went on to the reception. It was quite nice. Ferret's best man's ass almost caught on fire because he was saying a speech right next to a candle, and he almost caught on fire, but that was some excitement. And then after the wedding or the reception, we went to go do the first dance and everything then. And at first you usually dance with the father and daughter dance. So Ferret danced with his mum, and my dad at the time was dating a woman, and she wouldn't allow him to do the first dance with me at our wedding. So I ended up having to stand there on my own while my dad danced with his ex-girlfriend.
Oh, no.
And then Ferret and I ended up doing our first dance, and then everybody got up to dance, And then after all that, we ended up going back to the room and getting changed and everything and putting on some comfier clothes because it was New Year's Eve and we just wanted to enjoy the night then. And when we came back in, Ferret decided he was going to get really drunk, and I was just basically sitting around watching him drink all night. And then when midnight came, when the countdown happens, the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you're meant to kiss your loved ones, Ferret went round and kissed his whole family and didn't even look for me.
And being pregnant, your hormones and your emotions, that would have been very sad. You would have been hurt.
And it was our wedding day. And I wasn't the first one he even looked for to kiss. Like, I was so devastated, and I ended up going downstairs to the toilets and crying for about an hour. And he didn't even notice I was gone.
That's so sad.
And then when we came back up, it was about 2 o'clock in the morning when we decided we were going back to our rooms, and Ferret's dad decided to come back to our room with us. And Ferret decided to talk to his dad about all his family secrets and everything till 5 a.m. in the morning. And I just had to sit there and listen while they had a cry and drink sesh. So that was my wedding night.
Not what every girl dreams of.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. And just definitely not what a pregnant 17-year-old girl thinks of. You think you're going to get a fairy tale, and it definitely was not that.
Once all the hype wore down at the wedding, how were you feeling? Like once all the big, like I suppose not really excitement because it wasn't exciting, but you know what I mean? Like once everything kind of settled down, you had time to breathe.
I was so sad that I even went through with it afterwards. I was really upset with myself. And even in the weeks afterwards, Ferret kept asking me, can you do our photo book and our album and everything and make it look like you're excited about our marriage? And I just couldn't even bring myself to do it. I was so depressed.
So he knew how you were feeling then by him saying that.
Yeah. And I was also grieving my baby's twin, like.
Yeah.
And my wedding didn't go to how I wanted, and everything I thought was, I was having dramas with my mum, and my whole life just felt like a drama, and it always did at that time. But I'm happy to say now it's not.
Oh, I suppose looking back on it now, you're probably thinking, what the hell?
Yeah, I say to any young person, do not do anything before you're 30. Go enjoy life, explore, see the world, find out who you are, because who you think you are as a teenager or even in your 20s is not who you're going to be in your 30s, 40s, 50s, I'm assuming 60s, who knows. That's still all to come yet, but yeah. And you're never going to be the same person. So if you can find the right person, you need to make sure that you can grow together, because if you can't grow together, there's no use in even starting out.
Very true. Very true.
Yes. So, thank you very, very much for joining our story time tonight. If you want to hear more, let us know. Tell us if you want to hear a particular story. I'm sure I've got a story to tell you if you ask. I will.
A lot. Lots of stories.
So, yeah. Leave a message, give us a like, and thanks for staying around and listening to our story. Bye.